It is June 22nd, 2023, and I'm here tonight with Alisa Fierro. Alisa Fierro. And she has a fascinating multi-generation heritage in Tempe that we're going to learn more about tonight. So Alisa, tell us first of all, where were you born and when and what town?
I was born in Mesa, Arizona,
Mesa, okay.
1970, and we moved. I grew up actually in Tempe. So in 1971, my parents moved to Tempe, and we lived at 2027 East University Drive.
Yeah. What was there on University Drive when you lived there?
My grandparents.
Okay.
So we moved to a property where my grandparents had a house on the front, and it was right on University Drive. And there was a space in between, kind of a yard in between, courtyard, and our home was right there, between the courtyard. So we grew up right there with my grandparents.
I'm trying to picture it. I imagine the traffic wasn't what it is today on University Drive, right?
Oh, not at all. Not at all. There wasn't anything across the street.
Yeah.
There was like a high lift, some kind of business that sold high lifts or equipment. I'm not even sure. I haven't driven there in a while.
All right.
Yeah.
So then for your parents, your dad especially, did he live in Tempe when he's growing up too?
He is from Coolidge, Arizona.
From Coolidge, okay.
Yes. He grew up in Coolidge and I'd have to take a minute to count how many kids there were. But his parents had
lots of aunts and uncles.
A little, yes, they do. Yeah.
That's great.
So in a little house in Coolidge.
Uh-huh.
I'm not certain how they met, but they've been together about 55 years.
That's
great. 56
Wonderful.
years.
Good for them.
Yeah.
Let's go back another generation
to
your grandfather. Where was he living, or where was he born?
My grandfather, I believe, was born in Tempe.
Okay.
So I'd have to look into.
Was there a particular neighborhood that he lived in that you know of?
All that I know is that he lived on Dewey Street with his family.
And tell us his name and what you called him.
I called him Tata.
Okay.
Tata Obregon. I never called him by his first name.
I read online that he went by Pete, even though he's named Pedro.
Pete.
Some people called him Don Pedro.
He was referred to as Don Pedro by
there's the role of the R. There we go.
Yeah. by some of the people that lived there, and the reason being is he had a farm, so he had a working farm with corn. He had corn growing in the fields, horses, chickens, cows.
Okay.
More chickens. And when he had excess food, so excess eggs or whatever it was, he would, after we would consume or we would take the food for ourselves, he would sell some and then he'd give some away to the community. So
now, you just were telling us before we started this that when you were born, he was already,
I believe he was
70,
in his 60s, late 60s. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so, what type of things do you remember about your grandma?
My grandparents.
Besides what you just told us.
So my grandfather worked on the farm until he's his 80s. But I remember he used to wear these Levi Strauss jeans, and he would roll them up, the cuff on the end, and he always had a red handkerchief that he used for the sweat.
Always red.
Yeah, always red. It was a red handkerchief. But I spent a lot of my time with my grandfather in the summer. If I wasn't in summer school or Big Surf or, any of the other great places, Escalante pool, I was with my grandfather. And my grandfather actually taught me how to fix fences. So we had a large field. I can't remember. It's been a really long time.
It's all right.
But our field was it extended to a canal at the back of the property, and so there was a lot of fencing. And then adjacent to the field was a trailer park. So we had to check the fence often to make certain that it wasn't falling down. And plus we also had horses. Occasionally my dad would house or, board horses. And so I went out in the field with my grandfather, and he taught me how to fix and mend fences. And that is a really fond memory.
It sounds like such a blessing that you got to spend all those different activities and do those things with them.
It was. So my grandparents and my grandmother taught me well, she wanted to teach me how to cook, but I never learned. I wanted to be outside with animals. I wanted to be outside in the sun, running barefoot, around the property and hanging out with my grandfather and his best friend. I remember his name. His name was Aurelio.
Was his best friend?
His best friend.
Did he live nearby?
He did.
Okay.
He did, and he would come over, and they would do whatever they do back there, and talk and work in the field and do things, and then they would have a few of those Coors beers together. Okay. So yeah, I remember him being there a lot, and lots of trips to co-op to get chicken feed, and it's just great. Tempe was great when I was growing up. Yeah.
I understand that recently your grandfather was named as a historic legend.
He was,
for
indeed.
Tempe.
Yes, he was.
That must have been really a
It's a
nice
proud
event.
moment, for sure.
Did you have cousins that attended that too?
No, it was my brother Dominic,
Okay.
his son Dominic Jr.,
Okay.
my husband Scott Fierro,
Uh-huh.
and then my brother's girlfriend
Okay.
attended.
I'm glad you got to go to that.
Yeah,
And
that
then you
was.
have some more news about a street in Tempe is going to be named after him.
So yeah, it's going to be named, I believe, on the 30th of this month.
Of June. Okay.
So, and then the celebration will be sometime in October.
Oh, that's great.
Along with all the other
We'll
families.
have to watch for that and try to come out and be there. I imagine the mayor's going to cut a ribbon or something, or
That would be
something
great. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
right?
I'm looking forward to it.
Okay. All right. So, do you have anything that comes to mind that's just something unusual about your family that happened when you were growing up, or?
So the dynamics were, I feel like we were very blessed to have my Nana and Tata. So Nana Obregon, her first name was Fidelia, and so we had them 24 hours, 7 days a week. They were our grandparents.
Available to you. Yeah.
They had no other grandchildren.
Okay.
We were it.
Okay.
So I learned so much from them. I learned how to be a better community member, to be a better businesswoman. The thing that I learned from my grandparents was to always take just what I need and leave the rest for others. And I still live by that today.
I love that.
Thank you.
What about your other grandparents on your mom's side?
There's 3 sets of grandparents. Yeah, there's
okay.
yeah.
Well, you
so
never know,
my
right?
dad's dad, I believe, I don't know very much of his history, but we did spend time with my dad's parents.
Okay, so
my grandmother.
The Obregons are your mother's parents. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, okay. I thought you were asking about my dad.
No, I just didn't know which side was which. I'm sorry.
That's probably what my husband would say.
Okay.
He'd say it's so confusing. So my mom's parents, we lived with them in Tempe.
That's your mom's parents. And then, so I guess what I'm asking is, what about your any other grandparents?
Any other grandparents? Yeah. So we visited, and we were close. But my grandparents, my Obregon grandparents, were the closest to us, to the kids. Yeah.
Yeah. Were the other ones here in Arizona?
Yes.
Okay.
Coolidge, Hayden, up there in the mountains. My grandfather, Flores, he lived in Hayden, Arizona.
Okay.
Yeah, and then my grandmother, Nana Flores, she lived in Coolidge.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you were old enough to go to school, where did you go?
When I was old enough to go to school, my first place was the preschool on University Drive. There's some Brookdale apartments across the street. It's a small preschool. I can't remember the name. It's near Tri-City Mall.
Okay.
Then after that, I attended Flora Thu Elementary in Tempe. And then in high school, I attended Marcos Deniza.
It took me a minute when you said Flora Thu. I just
Flora
didn't know it as Thu.
Oh, Thu.
Yeah,
School.
Thu.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I always called it Flora because that was her name.
That was what,
Mm-hmm.
what you know.
That's who it was named after. Yeah.
Right. And so where did you say after that?
Marcos
Deniza High School. Okay.
Mm-hmm. In Tempe.
Great.
Yeah.
Did you have a favorite teacher there at Marcos Deniza?
Not at Marcos, but in elementary school for sure.
Okay.
Yes, and I'm happy to say his name, Mr. Della Pasta.
Della Pasta.
Yeah.
Sounds Italian.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, he was my music teacher. I wanted to play the flute, but it wasn't available in elementary, so I got the trombone.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I got
that
to
must
play.
have been fun.
It was fun. I think I was third chair, and one of my, I had a huge crush on him. He was the second chair. His name was Drew Durbin. The Durbins lived near us, and there were I think like 4 kids maybe. But they grew up in the apartments on University Drive.
Right.
Yeah. Just lots of memories. Just brings up so many memories. Yeah. So Mr. Del Pasta, and then Mrs. Kreisman. She was my first grade teacher.
And you still remember her?
I remember her name. Yeah.
Some teachers just make an impression on us.
They do.
Yeah, touch your life. Were there any other activities you did in high school?
High school, I was in ROTC, junior ROTC, and did lots of fun trips. We actually did a field trip to Fort Huachuca, and we were there I guess we were there a week, but we got to stay in the barracks and climb mountains and rappel off of the mountains. I took my first helicopter ride in ROTC in a Huey. It was just a great experience. It was such a fun time.
Right, and that's south of Tucson, is that right?
Fort Huachuca.
I know my brother's served there, but I've never been there.
Yeah, exactly.
For a while. Yeah.
The Sierra Vista area.
Sierra Vista, yeah. All right, and then after that, what'd you do?
After high school? So after high school, my parents moved us to Alabama, and that's where I met my first husband. And I got married very young, so I was missing home. And about I think it was around 8 years. We were married about 8 years, and I was missing home, so I moved back here. And
so this is home, Arizona's home?
This is my home. Yes, I'm an Arizona native. So we moved back and went our separate ways, and I stayed and lived with my grandparents until my grandfather passed away, and then I stayed until my grandmother passed. So my parents sold the property to a developer who is, the apartments are there on the property now. And we moved to Maricopa. So when they moved, they bought their house, I bought my own house, and I was 28. And all thanks to my grandparents, because they left each of us a gift. And mine was, I learned how to manage my money and to do things in a different way. I was young, but I was very thoughtful, and I cared more about, at a young age, I cared more about my experience and where I was going. I cared about my future, and so I invested in myself and bought a house.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Did you work in high school? Did you have any jobs?
Oh yes, yes. My first job in high school was working as a cashier in the cafeteria at Marcos Deniza.
Okay.
Yeah.
Food services.
Exactly. Yeah, I was a cashier, and I got credit for it. And so after I worked in the cafeteria, I got a raise and a promotion and worked in the snack bar, and I became a little more popular after that.
People came to see you at the snack bar?
Yeah. So,
Okay.
so I worked in there with a couple of other girls that were in ROTC with me. I actually remember their names, or actually one of them.
Throw them out there.
Gina Ragula.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is a theme. This is Italian theme.
Yeah.
And who else? Anybody else?
Jody. I can't think of her last
That's all right.
name.
We have a friend
Yeah.
who likes to know that everybody's friends' names, and so when he watches this,
It was a long
for
time.
that. That's Bill. Okay. All right. And when you were in Alabama, did you work there while you were there?
Oh yeah, I started working when I was 10.
Okay.
I want to tell you about that too.
Okay.
There's some history
Yeah, go
there.
ahead and do it now while you're thinking about it.
Okay, so when I was 10, I was hired by Shirley Poe,
Mhm.
and she had a seamstress shop on Apache Boulevard.
Mhm.
So the building might still be there, but obviously she's gone. But she worked there and had her business for a number of years until she retired. My first job there was answering phones, vacuuming,
Mhm.
cutting patterns, and I got paid about $2.25 an hour.
Okay.
So I did okay for my age.
That's great. It's young to be cutting patterns.
Yeah, she trusted me.
Uh-huh.
My sister worked there
Uh-huh.
first, and then she passed the job to me
Mhm.
when she no longer wanted to work there. Yeah.
So
So-
you have a brother and a sister?
I have a brother and a sister. I have a younger brother. He's 4 years younger than me, and his name's Dominic
Mm-hmm.
Flores.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then the sister
And my
who's older,
sister.
she's the oldest child?
She's 3 years older than me,
Okay.
and her name is Renee Flores.
Okay.
Mhm.
Did she go to Marcos too, or was it?
She went to McClintock.
Okay.
She
so
did.
Were you one of the first classes at Marcos?
To first one.
To graduate?
So
when
I
they opened?
graduated in Alabama. So
Oh, okay.
when my
You moved
parents
during your
moved
high
us,
school
yeah,
years,
I moved
okay.
to Lee High School. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, and then where'd you work when you came back to Tempe after Alabama? Or
What
came
did I
back
do?
to Maricopa or wherever it was you went to?
Yeah, so when I returned from Alabama,
Mhm.
I had a job in the grocery industry.
Mm-hmm.
When I returned, I went to work for Eddie Basha.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was a cashier
Uh-huh.
for Eddie. I also learned to work in different departments. So produce department, worked a little bit in there, floral, and I even helped out in the pharmacy.
Which Bashas was it, up in North Tempe?
This was in Chandler.
In Chandler, okay.
Chandler. I worked in Chandler
Uh-huh.
and Cooper Road, but I also floated around. I was a floater.
Mm-hmm.
They would call and ask if I wanted to get some extra hours in, if I could help out, so I did that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I worked a lot.
they called it the hometown grocers, I think, something like that was one of the
Yeah,
tag names.
exactly. Yeah, Eddie Basho was a great man. He actually helped me find my brother, my half brother. So this is a long time ago. I wrote a letter to him and I told him, I'm one of your employees and I'm looking for my half brother. I know his name, here's his name, and I just gave him a little bit of information. Next thing, someone's knocking on my door and they're 2 investigators.
Wow.
2 of his private
Yeah,
investigators.
full service.
Absolutely, and so they said, Eddie said to clear your day, to take the day off. We're gonna take you to Tucson to meet your brother, and
Oh,
it
how
happened.
How old were you about? How old do you think?
20, I want to say maybe 23.
And is this a brother you always knew about when you were growing up?
Always heard about him, but never.
On your dad's side?
My dad's.
Uh-huh.
My dad's first child.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, Eddie was a great man.
Okay. And is that brother still around?
I think he lives in Colorado.
Okay.
I'm not really
Not still
sure.
in touch very much.
Or where's Sandy Hook?
Um,
I'm not sure. I really
I don't
don't
think Colorado.
he's moved. Yeah, he
It's
was
in
in
the
Colorado
east.
for a while.
Oh, maybe.
Is
Yeah.
that in the east?
Pennsylvania?
Connecticut. I think.
Connecticut, okay.
Sandy.
Yeah,
There may be more than one Sandy Hook though.
I'm not sure where he is. We lost touch. Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right. So where you live now? Tell us where you live now.
I live in Avondale with my husband Scott,
Okay.
and I also work in Avondale.
When you come back to be, what is the same and what is different?
I've noticed that Roller World is gone.
Oh no.
Big Surf is gone.
Yeah.
Minder
Sad.
Binders is gone. May West I don't think is May West anymore. Yeah, there's quite a, it's
Some of the businesses
there's
that
some
you
things
remember
different.
And places you used to frequent.
Mhm.
You said Big Surf with your grandpa.
Big
So
Surf.
that's sad. We were all sad when that closed.
Yeah, exactly.
Even if we didn't go there that much, it's still you still want it to be there, right?
Yeah, I think the best Big Surf was when they had the backdrop with the it looked like you were in Hawaii, and then the sand and palm trees. It was in that movie.
Concrete underneath it.
Yeah.
If you dug down.
Yeah, it was. It just seemed like you were really at the beach.
Yeah.
That I miss that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, but I really, it's been a while since I've driven through Tempe, so it's quite
Did you notice anything that was the same?
Not well.
Like a mountain, maybe?
Okay, that's true. Yeah, the Mill Avenue is the same. Definitely, that's a good point. Thank you for. So actually, I used to run with a group that they may still run on Saturdays. They are called Native Fit, and I used to run with them. I don't run anymore.
Okay.
But we would run along the Mill Avenue, and we never did the A Mountain. I didn't do it anyway, but yeah. So I live in Avondale now, so it's kind of a trek.
Now I read online about your grandpa that he worked at Hayden Flour Mills at one time.
Yes.
Did he tell you about that?
So I only know what my mom has told me.
Okay.
So there's a story where he I believe he was a foreman. And he would, this is cute. This is the pail story, the lunch pail story. So he would bring his lunch. My grandmother would make these amazing burritos with potatoes and whatever else, meat, and he would bring them in his Stanley lunch pail to work. And wherever they put their lunch pails, I'm not sure where it was, but he started noticing that his lunch was missing. He would also bring fruit from the trees because we had lots of fruit trees. And so when he noticed someone was eating his lunch, instead of getting upset, he had my grandmother. He had her make 2 burritos. Yeah, and so. Whoever it was that was taking his lunch would just take 1 burrito and leave the rest, and I thought that just grabbed my heart. I had no idea, but I had no idea that happened when I heard the story.
Lunch buddy.
Yeah, it sounds like something I would do. I'd rather help people, but unless they steal my water in the refrigerator. That's a
different story, huh?
Yeah.
Now you mentioned he helped you learn how to be a businesswoman.
He did.
What kind of business are you?
So I'm a healing practitioner. I'm a licensed massage therapist and Reiki master. I have been in business for 19 years, and a lot of my clients they're looking for holistic healing. They're looking for alternative healing. I'm trained in cranial sacral therapy and Reiki and massage, of course. So I treat people with different ailments, like if they have foot pain or back pain, that pills are not working, the pills aren't working, or they have anxiety, depression, then I put a treatment together for them. And there's times when people they're not able to pay the higher price, so I maintain my price at a reasonable rate. If you've gotten massages lately, you notice that they're doubled. Yeah, the prices have doubled.
Yeah.
Well, I've maintained my price at a reasonable rate so that people can get their healing and I'm not breaking their bank. So I feel like 100% I learned that from my grandparents.
That sounds so meaningful and fulfilling.
Thank you.
That's work. Yeah.
Thank you.
Good for you. All right. Is there a role for spirituality in your life? Okay.
Oh, for me, yes. I definitely feel like I'm still connected to my grandparents. Spiritually, I just see them in everything. A lot of things that I do.
Yeah.
Is it a religion? I don't think so. I think it's a way of life. Definitely a way of life for me.
But you feel that pull from the generations that have gone before?
Absolutely. Oh, I can feel, definitely. And especially in my work. When I work with other people, I can actually hear their ancestors. That's one of my gifts. I'm an intuitive. So I use my intuition during sessions when I have permission to do so.
Now, are your parents still with you?
They are.
Okay. Are they still in Alabama?
No, they're in Casa Grande.
In Casa Grande?
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, they're
It's not too bad.
Oh no, it's about an hour drive. Yeah, yeah. But I go see them once a month. So family is really, it's really important for me to take care of my elders. That's something that I learned from my grandparents. I stayed with them a really long time. I stayed, and yeah, even though I got married, I would come back. I actually lived there. We both lived there. My first marriage.
Yeah, that's so fortunate. A lot of people don't get that chance to get to know their grandparents that well.
Yeah. That's what I've heard.
I never lived at the same state as mine.
I don't know any other way. It's
Are there other things in the community that you go out and do? Any community events or classes or clubs or anything?
So currently, I've decided to teach my clients, the ones that are interested in learning healing modalities. I've decided to start teaching them, and so I hold classes. I'm certified to teach Reiki. I took classes to get certified, and so I'm helping them by teaching them a modality that they can use to bring income in. So that's my way of giving back to the community. I also work for the City of Surprise. I do wellness events, so chair massage. Gotten to know a lot of people over the years.
So do you go to festivals sometimes and do like a chair massage there? No.
No. I do the health fairs. Yeah. I just attended a health fair, and I do chair massage for them on a regular basis. So I get to meet a lot of people. I've watched families grow and people just go through their life. It's been amazing, and I know my business. I'm not just a massage therapist. I'm here to help others move forward.
Excellent. Okay, so turn the page here. Have you traveled outside Arizona very much? Anywhere? Okay. Right.
Outside of Arizona? Oh yeah, absolutely. We've done a lot of traveling. Recently we went to Alaska, so we traveled there. We've been all over the Caribbean, to some Caribbean islands, so Jamaica, Belize. We've been to, where's another one? I'm drawing a blank, I don't know.
Maui.
Oh, yeah, we've been to Maui a few times.
Mexico.
Right, Puerto Rico.
Mexico, yeah, Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
When you went to
Turks.
Mexico, what part did you go to? Did you go to Sonora, or where are your
So
ancestors
we've been to Cozumel, we've been to Cancun. Rocky Point is a place we like to go pretty often. So yeah, those areas. We did go to Cozumel, and we did a tour with a Mayan. He was the youngest, he was a Mayan priest. but he was conducting the tour, and I saw a lot of similarities when I listened to his story. So that was interesting.
And then when you come back to Arizona or the Phoenix area, what are your impressions from your travels? Do you
It's
notice-
hot.
It's hot.
That bumpy
Let's
ride
go to
on the
Alaska
way.
again, right?
Yeah, that bumpy ride in the plane, landing, and we're always really tense, holding on to each other, holding our hands. Yeah, it's just the white knuckles. Yeah, the heat. But I notice when we fly in,
Uh-huh.
I notice the landmarks where I grew
Okay.
up, the Papago Mountains,
Uh-huh.
and which are one of my favorite. That was speaking
Yeah.
of that. I used to go horseback riding
Uh-huh.
at the Papago Mountains. There was a stable. I'm not sure if it's still there,
Mhm.
but we did that on the weekends. I had a really fun childhood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I'm thinking is do you feel maybe gratitude that you were able to grow up here in
Oh,
Arizona?
completely. Oh,
Even though your travels are so bad.
yeah, absolutely. Growing up in Tempe, I got to the location where we lived. I could walk to Mill Avenue. I mean, it would take a while, but
Yeah.
it was an enjoyable walk.
Mhm.
I
It
could
was
walk.
walkable.
Yeah, it was. We lived next door to the Nukatsus.
Mhm.
They had a grocery store,
Mhm.
mostly produce, but I would walk go down the dirt road to the past the next field and buy soda pop and lemons and just different produce, whatever we needed.
Mhm.
But yeah, they're great memories. Walking distance to Escalante Pool was
Yeah.
great. Yeah. I walked all over Tempe when I was growing up. I never had to get rides to go to Shirley Poe's office
Mhm.
to work. I walked. I was
Yeah.
walking. Yeah.
Okay. How do you define your culture or your identity?
That's a really good question.
Yeah.
I would
Take your
say
time.
I'm Latina. I'm
Uh-huh.
Latina, but
On your mom's side too? On your
mom-
dad's side too, I mean?
both
People's
sides.
Uh-huh.
There's some Native American
Uh-huh.
blood in there. I did take one of the 23andMe tests, and I had a high percentage of Native American.
Yeah, some indigenous American.
Yeah, it's for sure. Yeah, so, but I definitely can feel it. I
Mhm.
feel it. I feel like there's teachings there that are not verbally taught to me, but it's just within me, an innate ability to help others, to
Mhm.
heal myself and to help others heal.
Mhm.
No, my grandmother actually did teach me some natural healing techniques, and so I hold those sacred.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Have attitudes toward cultural diversity changed in Tempe since you were young till now, or do you think it's about the same?
I'm not really sure. I haven't visited Tempe
Yeah.
very much
Yeah.
since we moved. It's been a while.
It sounds
since
like
I
from what you
spent
told
some
us
time.
so far that you had a pretty blessed childhood. That there weren't a lot of problems.
No, there weren't problems. I had a nice group of friends
Uh-huh.
from different cultures.
Uh-huh.
I had my friends who liked to ride horses,
Uh-huh.
and then I had friends who liked to run around, go to the pool, and so
Yeah, that
I
diversity
really
is
enjoyed
really
it.
great,
It was
isn't it?
diverse. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. Let's see. Let me find a good one here. How would you like your family and friends to remember you?
Oh, that's a good question. I'd like them to remember me as somebody who really cared about the footprint that I left. Whether I spoke to someone or I helped them or I did a healing work for them, or I told them a story that changed their life. Whatever it is, I want them to know that I did it intentionally. I had intention behind it, and it was always for the good.
Did you say you have nieces and nephews?
I do. I have one niece and 3 nephews.
Okay.
Yeah, they're all kind of scattered.
Yeah.
And my niece is in the East Valley. She's, I think she's in Chandler. One of my nephews is in Tucson with my brother. And then my other two nephews, one, I'm not certain where he is. Nobody really knows. And then the other, but he's fine. I'm sure he's fine. The other one is, I'm not sure, Colorado maybe? Yeah. Yeah, they kind of they have their own lives, they have their families, and yeah, they're my brother's kids.
Okay.
Yeah.
So your older sister doesn't have any
No,
children?
neither of us have children. My sister and I don't have kids. My brother's the only one with children.
And what about your older brother? Do you know if he does?
I don't think that he was able to have kids.
Okay.
Or his wife is not able to have children, so no.
Okay, we're genealogists, so I'm always
Yeah.
building the tree in my head.
Yeah, right.
So it follows. Okay. Alisa, I just love hearing about your caring heart.
Oh, thank you.
That just means that is your goal in life, to leave that, as you put it, your footprint is
So I wrote a book.
very well thought out.
Thank you.
Did you write a book? Tell us about your book.
I wrote a book. So I wrote this book after I discovered that I had this gift of finding missing people.
Okay.
And at the front of the book, I pay tribute to my grandparents, my Nana and Tata Obregon, because they raised me. But the book, I discovered that I had this gift of finding missing people. And the young lady was here in Tempe who went missing. But I won't say her name out of respect for the family. But I was on the news, and the book, I only wrote the book to have it as something to refer to.
It's documented.
Each time someone else called. So I helped
for yourself as a reference?
For myself as a reference,
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
So I self-published. I haven't really made any money off of it. It's still out there, but and I don't really, it doesn't bother me. I don't care to make any money off of it. I just want to help people, and if people have bought it, then actually there are some that bought the book, and they did tell me that it helped them a lot in
So
other ways.
you're an author. I'm going to add that to your
I
list of things.
am. I am. It's self-published.
Yeah, wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Is there anything I didn't ask you, or that you had in mind? Oh, you want to show your things.
Oh,
What would you like to start with?
Pictures? Sure. So these are pictures of my grandparents. This is my grandfather, Pedro Obregon, and Fidelia. And this picture up here, I love this picture. It's a photograph of my grandmother making tamales, and if you look at my grandfather's face, he had quite a sense of humor. He's got his tongue sticking out. Yeah. You have to look really close. He's making a funny face.
Okay.
He had a great sense of humor.
But those tamales were good.
Oh, always so good. I wish I'd paid attention when she was making them. And then this is the house on Dewey. That's the house on Dewey Street. And then this is my mom's biological mother. So my Nana Fidelia was actually her aunt.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then that's a photograph of myself and my Tata Obregon. I was in my 20s. And see, he's making a funny face.
The shag haircut, is that what I'm saying now? No.
My hair?
Yeah.
Oh, it was feathered.
Feathered, there we go.
Yeah, it was feathered in the 90s. And then this is a picture of my Tata Obregon and Nana Obregon. And the chairs represent the chairs that my grandparents had in their front yard.
Okay.
So my mom found these and bought them for me.
Of-
Yeah, it reminded her of the old chairs.
Uh-huh.
And then finally, there's two more items here. This is one of my favorite items. I just recovered it from the backyard at my mom and dad's house.
Oh, really?
This was used to gather eggs at the farm. I would gather eggs and bring them into the house in this basket. So yeah, it's pretty old. And then finally, this hat was my grandfather's hat. He was a Coors drinker. He liked to drink Coors, not Coors Light, just regular Coors. He wore the hat when he would work inside of the chicken pen, because he'd say, and he would always tell me to put the hat on, or put a hat on, because he didn't want the piojos to fall on my head, the little bugs. And so I still have one. There's another one. I'm not sure where it is. It might be in storage somewhere, but that's what I have
I'm
left.
so glad you have that basket now. I imagine it when you touch it with your gifts, that it's like, you know, it's
I
still
can
linked
feel,
to the
I
past,
remember.
right?
Yes,
Every-
definitely. Yes.
Every person in your family that used it, right?
Yes, yes. My grandparents. I don't think my sister, I'm not sure if my sister ever gathered eggs
She wasn't
or.
out there doing the chores.
I don't think so. I don't think so. My brother was too young.
Okay.
So, but I did. I was in charge of letting the chickens out, to let them run around, and then gathering them, watering them, and feeding them the little pellets. So I really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it. But yeah, those are my great memories.
Those are wonderful stories. We'd like to ask the audience if they have any questions that came up while you were talking. Let's start with Dwayne.
Yes, this is Dwayne Rohn asking this question. Like Mckell, I admire the way that you've lived your life in caring for other people. And I want to ask you what advice you have for a young person who is looking forward to how he or she should live life.
Pay attention to your grandparents. Yeah, love them, cherish them, make videos of them, video their life, ask them questions, write notes, and save it. Put it away and save it for later on. You never know. And also the other thing, the other advice I have is for young people to pay attention to their own lives. See what the similarities that you have with your grandparents, or your parents, or your uncles, your aunts, your ancestors. Look at the similarities and learn from them. Take time to learn, because I'm living proof. I'm living proof that someone who might be thought of as ordinary can be extraordinary.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If it's not too personal, can you say a little bit about how you find missing people?
Sure. So on my mom's side, my Nana Obregon, she was very intuitive, and it runs in the family. So it's, some people like to use the word psychic. So I use my gifts to help find missing people by connecting with them in a photograph. I also use the healing work, Reiki. I use Reiki to send them healing energy. So I start receiving images, and I just write notes. I'll write notes. Sometimes it's random, sometimes it's specific, but either way, it kind of, everything just connects together. So when I get the information, I just relay it back to the family, if I'm in touch with the family of the missing. And there's so many times that it's helped. It's helped. Whether it was too late, or it was, you know, or the people who are missing returned home. Either way, I feel like I made an impact. So I'll give you an example. There was a couple of kids that went missing, and a family friend reached out to me. They asked me, "Oh, I heard that you found someone, you know, you helped find a missing person. Can you help us?" Absolutely. So I volunteered. Send me a picture, you know, tell me the story. So I started to receive this image that they were in a homeless camp. And so I relayed that back to the family. And I guess the family maybe they didn't look there. But then I started kind of, it's gonna sound funny, but I started talking to them in my mind. You guys should go home. You know, they're gonna find you. We know where you are. You should just go home. And next thing you know, I got the message that they had gone home. So they went home. It was a boyfriend and a girlfriend, and they wanted to go run off together. You know, they ran off together, and they stopped. One of them stopped at a house and picked up a tent and, you know, all these camping supplies. So the family was probably looking in northern Arizona, and I was receiving images that they were in a homeless camp. And so whether they were or not, I truly don't know, but they went home. So that's an interesting way. So I just listen. I just connect and I listen. And I help any way that I can. And it's effortless for me. I don't charge anything. I just do it as just volunteer, on a volunteer basis.
Great, thank you.
Thanks for asking.
Scott, did you have anything come to mind that you think she should have talked about tonight?
You pretty much covered everything. That was a good interview. Yeah.
Oh, good, thanks. All right.
Well, Alisa, thank you so much
Thank
for being
you.
here with us.
Thank you.
I love hearing about your family and your work and the things you do.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.